Okay. So hopefully you've had fun making your cardstock and making your design. And now if you're going to paint, I'm going to show you some things to do to make this process more successful. Work better. So one of the things you could do is just put tape down, and the problem with just putting tape across your acrylic piece is that the wash is going to go underneath when you come with your paint, and it will bleed. So there's a trick to that. If I can open this up. This is your Liquitex gel. I asked you all to get a bottle of gel, and hopefully you've had some supplies come in by now. And it looks like glue, and we're going to use it to glue things, but we're also going to use it to make sure that our tape does not leak. So this you have to let dry before you paint. And you're going to put this clear gel across the edge of all of your tape lines, and then let it dry. Now it's important that you don't leave this tape on forever, because this is enough to make it really adhere well to your canvas. So I'm going to put it down, and wherever I've got tape now is going to be this nice mid-tone color of gray. If I put this on successfully enough, it's not going to go underneath my edges. So I'm going to get some nice hard edged black lines, black shapes. There's a shape project in there. And you aren't working for 5 hours trying to get a straight shape line on there. The only thing that you have to do is let your paint dry in between steps. It's probably not a good idea to use a hair dryer for this step as long as the paint is on. You just have to have some patience and let it dry, because we're not going to do anything to make this not work well. And the nice thing about using this clear gel medium is that it's clear. This is going to fill in those cracks so that your color of paint won't go underneath. So if I've got enough, it's going to fill all of that up. And I'm trying to push it in the direction that the paint might leak. Alright, so I have to let that dry. So that's one possible way, and then I can add my colors like that, and I'll have hard edges. The other thing that you can do with this, that one's really dark. Let me pull out a lighter one here. Alright, so there's my gray. Here is a dark line. It's already been painted on my gesso cardstock. And I can get hard edges the same way by collaging it down with this. So I'm just going to put the matte gel where I'm going to put my stripe. And then I'm going to put the matte gel on my back of my cardstock paper. So it's really a fancy way of gluing your pieces down. This is matte instead of gloss, so when it dries it's going to look just like my paint. And if I decide I want it to be shiny, I can always varnish it when I'm done and make it shiny. So this is going to look just like I painted that, because I did paint it. I just painted it before I glued it down. So I'll have complete control there over where I'm putting my stripe on. And if I put enough medium so that it goes up within that crack, it's not going to show that I glued that piece of paper to that board rather than paint it on it. That there's not going to be a big amount of difference between the two. Alright, so I'm going to move ahead, even though this isn't quite dry. We'll see what this looks like. Alright, and I'm going to use black. I think I'll just do this one side for now. And I'm going to put my paint right on it, because I'm not going to need a whole lot. And I'm going to come over the top of that with that black paint. And I should get a row of little black boxes there. Alright, so those are going to be gray underneath the stripes of the paint, and that is black. And I'm not even looking at my design for this demo, so I'm just moving on. And I could do a combination of the two. You know, I could do some of this, I could glue some of it down, I could do both. I just want to show you what this looks like. I have a bottle right here a second ago of pewter silver. Where did it go? There it is. Alright, so this is kind of a silver tone. And I'm just going to put it on the other side for a demonstration period. This is metallic folk art acrylic. Soft big brush. So use this one. And we're just going to spread it out. On this side. And hopefully my gel has had enough time to dry to keep this from going under my tape. If it doesn't and it leaks somewhere, that just means I'm going to have to go back and try to fix that and straighten up that line. So if you do have it happen, it's not the end of the world, it's just something that you've got to fix. Alright, so we will let that dry, and then I will be back to you with the finished one and show you what happened. And at that time, I think I'll put some tape on a piece of watercolor and show you the difference between it. And I won't use the medium there, I'll just use the watercolor paper and the tape. Okay, so here is the last little bit that I'm going to do today. I will show you tape on paper with watercolor and show you how the tape is coming off of the painted surface. So you can see I pulled off one. This is still wet. As long as you're careful, you can pull it away. And I've got a pretty nice hard edge. It's really not done any bleeding, even though I did not wait for it to dry. This piece has a little bit more of a jagged edge right here and here. But if I tried to fix that, chances are I might not be able to get it exactly right. So I am just going to dry it before I go on to the next step. And at this point, I could use a hair dryer. Alright, so put my wet sticky tape away. And as you see, I've added tape to my piece of cardstock. And I have my watercolor paper here. I'm not going to stop and go get clean water because I'm not actually painting on a painting. But we will do this as if I was going to. So I can just paint right over the edge. I've pushed it down well with a fingernail. Especially I'm going to do that with watercolor paper. Sometimes I like the edge bleeding and the way that it looks, because I think the nice jagged edge, depending on what I'm doing with the painting, can do some really interesting things. But in this case, I could keep adding tape, I could keep adding colors, and I can get a nice hard edge look with this. If not, I'll come over the top of that with white opaque gouache to cover up the edges. But you see, I can get a really, even though this isn't watercolor paper, with this lovely tape method, I can get some nice hard edges and get a good looking design going. Let's color this really nice, quite solid. But for this purposes, I really do have to let that dry completely before I take the tape off, or it definitely will bleed underneath the tape where the tape area is. So you can use tape again to make your geometric shapes with your watercolor. Have fun. I think you'll have a good time doing your op art.